Hello and welcome to the abstract drawing exercise by Sofia. To start, you'll need a piece of paper. It can be a scrap piece of paper, any size that you want. I've just gone with A5, and then you would need a pencil or a pen. I'm just going to go with a black pen and draw a line from the top of the paper to the bottom. The lines that I'm going to draw are going to be 5 in total, and they're not exactly straight. As you can see, they kind of curve and they're irregular. I'm just drawing as I feel, so draw from the top to the bottom, any which way that you feel, and then do lines from the left to the right. And you can do loops. The lines can cross over each other, they can be straight, they can be wavy. Just see how you feel. You can do this as many times as you want. Now, once I've got my initial pattern here, I'm going to think about the gaps in between the lines. I might want to do like a little pattern with my pen, or I might also want to use some colour. So you can use a felt tip, I can also use a pencil. So I'm just going to use this little green pencil and show you the little gaps that you could be filling in. Just use whatever you feel is best. There's no right or wrong answer to this. It's just how you feel on the day. And you can also use acrylic marker pens, or you can paint the gaps as well if you want. The pens are just a really easy and kind of portable way of painting. So I've just done another pattern. I've done this crisscross version inside the gap there, showing you that it could be a solid colour. I could just colour all of that as a solid colour like I'm doing here, or it could just be another pattern. Honestly, it just depends on how you feel. So just to show you, I'm going to do another pattern, but I've just filled in half that space there and half this space. So there could be lines, there could be half a solid colour. And then just distribute the colours if you are using them as you want, adding little bits here and there. And remember, if you do a solid colour, you can always do another colour on top or add more details later on. It's just about kind of layering your artwork. Now for this exercise, I am following the lines that I've drawn initially with the black pen, but I can go over these lines again. I'm doing a little outline in the colour that I'm colouring in with. So using reds, you can also use kind of warm colours or cool colours. You might just want to use 2 colours and limit your palette. It depends on what you want. I'm just using a watercolour Posca pencil here, just to show you the kind of blendability. And then a little alcohol marker pen here. That's just blended it right in. So depending on the texture of your paper as well, you'll get a different effect. And the contrast of colours as well is going to show kind of what you're working towards. So I'm using, I've used a green and a red next to each other, and then I'm using like a cool blue next to the red, which is a big contrast. So as you go, just think about the colours that you want to use. I'm adding a warm orange now. You can take these colours and inspiration from nature as well. So this is from kind of like an orange pattern with dots on. You might see a colourful ball in the park, you might see birds, you might see just little things that can inspire you while you do this exercise as well. And now I'm just going to choose a different colour, but again using the pencils. So you can use whatever you want. Just remember, you can use a kind of texture of the paper that you're working on, and you can use different mediums. So that means like pencils or pens or paints or anything, and you can always blend them together as well. So just doing a quick shade with this pencil. It's all about getting the balance of the solid colours and then patterns. And drawing patterns can be so soothing. You might also get inspiration from different patterns on textiles that you see as well, like jumpers and skirts. Just think about what kind of patterns you like, and then you can also draw them as well. So I'm just going to add a little banana yellow. Remember, you can take as long or as little time as you like on this. There's no set of rules, I suppose. I'm just going to squiggle some lines and a quick kind of stripe pattern here. I don't have to be straight or neat or anything. I'm just going to add a nice lilac-y purple again in stripes. I do like my stripes quite a lot, but also kind of playing around with the different directions that they might go. Now you could also do this in a monochrome pattern as well if you wanted to, just by using a black pen. But I've chosen to use a little bit of colour. So now I'm just going to think about where all the colours can go. Just think about all the little gaps as well as the big areas that you're going to try and fill. And if possible, try and fill all of the little gaps. So all of the kind of little gaps on the paper that you have drawn, just think about what can go in each of them. And you can also leave them blank as well if you want. Now I've just used quite a lot of light colours, so I'm going to bring it down a bit and use a darker colour. I'm just using a nice plum. And then you can also follow and duplicate those lines that you've already drawn and just kind of copy them into one another as well if you want, like I'm doing here. I'm just kind of following the curve and just repeating the pattern. If you want as well, you can use bits of newspaper and magazines, anything really. And then notice how I'm sectioning this part, so I've put it in 3 parts because it's quite a big area, so I thought I'd section it into 3 there. And then you can also do like little wavy patterns. This makes me think of like lakes or the sea. And I'm just going to go over some of these pencil marks, but not even fully go over them. I've left little gaps on purpose. Just playing around with the texture and seeing how the texture looks as well in this exercise. So now I'm just going to think about other colours that can go in. I'm just using this paler pink. So as well as using quite bright colours, you can use dark colours, pastel colours, use any colours that you feel like. And if you do this exercise more than once, you'll probably play around with different techniques as well. And when you are drawing, feel free to turn the paper and draw in different angles. It doesn't have to be just one direction. You might notice that I kind of turn the paper quite a lot, especially when I'm drawing lines. So I've just got a black pen here. I'm just going to go over some of the lines. This makes the pattern look a bit more bold, but you can use different colours and kind of play around with how bold or contrasted you want this to look as well. So I'm just playing around with the pattern that I got from grass, just little blades of grass there. And you can also use solid patterns, sort of also kind of colouring this in to get that solid feel. And I'm going to go over the lines that I've already did at the start, but I'm using this thick marker just to make it stand out really. And then because I've done cross hatching, I've done other little patterns, I'm also going to see what the patterns would look on top of the solid colours, like this red here. And then just colour it in, see what it looks like with this checkered pattern. So your patterns could be random, but they can also be geometrical as well. And they can follow nature, like leaves and flowers, just with these lines. You could do triangles. I think just by adding this black here, I'm also kind of separating the sections a bit more. So just following the curves. And remember, you can make any of these larger shapes into smaller shapes as well if you wanted to split them. It's all about seeing how you feel in the moment. And if you've got some tunes on, some music to listen to, that will really affect how you do this little exercise as well. So I'm still going over some of the lines and thinking about these solid colours, and if I want to add more patterns on the top, like another layer. If you think about layering these things, just another layer on top. And then I'm just going to mimic more stripes. You can see this section here that I split before, that's just become another little section on its own. And if you do wobbly lines, it doesn't matter. This exercise isn't about getting that perfect edge, it's just about how you feel and seeing where the lines take you. So I've done kind of what we did at the start, where I'd made wavy lines across and then up on that section as well. I want it to stand out a bit more. I'm adding other little final lines and then a little zigzag here. I could fill them in and make another pattern, but I'm just leaving them there because I think it looks quite nice. And there we have it, I've finished. Feel free to do this as many times as you like.